What's up guys, welcome back to another video, hope you're doing well today. It's been a hot minute since I put myself through some intense pain and suffering on this game with a high road video. So what track better to do it on than the recent Moto Sandbox thing by Mr. Rubes. This track I believe is the best track in the entire game in terms of road for it building up the most realistically. So I'm going to do the complete opposite of that and slap it on 10 ERODE and see how painful it gets. We're actually on 9.9 because MX bikes is MX bikes, and for some reason you can't land perfectly on 10. It's either 9.9 or 10.1. So in a way, you've kind of been clickbaited. Well done on falling for it. Thank you very much for the view. It's 9.9 ERODE, it's not 10. I apologise, but I hope you're going to enjoy anyway. I'm not sure how many laps I want to run of this, if I'm completely honest with you, because usually I do kind of like 50-ish to 100 on these types of videos and just kind of chop and change and cut my way through. However, this is probably the longest track that I'm going to be doing this on, especially when I start taking all of the crashes and stuff into account once the road sets in. So I mean, I'll play it by ear. I'll see how it goes. I'm going to keep you on board actually for the first lap or two, so we can see what she road's like. I actually hit that right perfectly last time, and I've just ruined it this time round. That's going to be fun to exit in the future. But you can already see. I mean, even at 10 times, she's going to be a little bit on the choppy side. She's going to be difficult. I can already see a lip on the face of that jump, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of jumping over the handlebars throughout this video. But I will run a couple of laps right here, I think, and join you once the chaos starts to commence, really. Lynn's from the future here. Quick interruption. There's between 1,000 to 4-ish thousand new people joining the channel every single day. If you like what you see and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. It's completely free. I'm looking to get about 42,000 subs by the end of the year. Why 42,000? It's the funny weed number. Why not? 420. I've never smoked a spliff in my life. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. Back to the video. Now, you boys might be asking yourself, Linz, why are you doing 10 ERODE today rather than the normal maximum 20? And the reason being, really, is I'm trying to find where the limit is of where the track or where the ruts get deep but are still rideable. Because as you know, when you get to 20, you get like these horrible jagged edges that form in every single rut. And it gets to a point where you're just trying to search for the smooth line after a while. There's absolutely no point in going in any of the lines you already have done because your bike's just going to explode on you. So I'm going to try and find where that limit is. Now, after a first few laps, I have been able to ride in the same rut more than once, but as you could see, coming out of that corner then, the rear wheel just loves to light up and really spin and not get any traction down. So I'm thinking that even 10 still might be a little bit too much, and I'm very, very open to track recommendations for me to do this on. Bear in mind, I'd like the tracks to be kind of like a minute in length in terms of lap time, not super long ones, because otherwise I'm just going to be sitting here all day long trying to get a couple of laps in just to see what the ERODE can do. But I think maybe I'll do like 8 or so in the next one, because there's got to be a sweet spot surely of where they get super deep without doing that, where they get all triangulated and jagged and horrible. I'm trying, really trying my hardest to be super smooth on the throttle right now coming out the corners, just to try and avoid it being really rough and bumpy. I just want a nice smooth rut that I can hopefully follow round. And in a weird way, this is kind of, I suppose, good. Not good practice. It's some sort of practice for me trying to learn how to not tuck the front end, because when you're in these super deep ruts, it's so easy to turn a little bit too tight and have the front end tuck on the inside of the rut. So it's beneficial in one aspect, I guess, even though it's probably very painful in every other one. Come to think about it now, actually, is this the first like really high ERODE video that I've done since beta 18 dropped and the ERODE changed? Because I know that I done Glen Helen, I covered that, but I swear that was on a maximum of about 4, nowhere near this level. So in a way, this is testing two things out right now. This is testing out Rube's soil and the soil values and how deep he's made all of the soil layers, and then it's also testing out the beta 18 ERODE in general. Now, apparently, I meant to keep the whole beta group, like testing group, a little bit hush-hush, which I completely forgot about because I mentioned it in a few videos. But there's been discussion in there on finding a sweet spot and seeing if there's a way of reducing the jaggedness of the ruts, because, I mean, you might be able to see it. I'm not sure how bad YouTube's doing it. As I'm riding along here, you can see there's just tiny little choppy bumps or triangles the entire way around these ruts. It's never truly smooth. Then I suppose that's all part of this experiment, finding where the limit is, finding what bikes can do, finding what the track creators can do, and finding out what I can put myself through and come through on the other end. Now, I've done, what lap am I on? I've just started lap numero 7, and I'm having a much more fun time on this than... I think the worst one of these I've ever done has got to be on the pit bike, when I've done that little pit bike track. 100 laps of that on the maxi road, I ended up just pushing the bike around the track most of the time because it was down horrendous. There was no smooth bit left. And I think here you can see there are a lot of smooth bits of ground to still take if I need to. But right now, it's not like I'm suddenly getting ejecto-cetoed out of the bike or over the bars and the jumps or anything. It's still quite manageable. And if I'm being gentle on the throttle coming out the corners, the triangles aren't too bad. It's only the front end, really, at the moment that seems to be having the most issues getting in and out of the corners. Other than that, it seems a-okay. And 100%, if you're looking for a challenge on this game, just do something like this. Mix it up a little bit, be a little bit more adventurous. And I do believe, I always say this about Enduro, but I suppose it could apply to this as well. If you're kind of newish or intermediate at the game and looking to advance or get faster, there's no better way of learning what the bike will do in certain situations than just doing it. I love Enduro because both on sim and on bikes, it really teaches you how to control the bike at low speed, which are very, very important things, especially when it comes to saving crashes. And all like this, there we go. Barely saved that. I felt the back end kick in. There was a horrible kick on the face of that jump. So experiment a little bit. Do something different. Do something difficult. Do weird stuff like this as well. And have fun with it. Now, depending on how I schedule these videos, you might be seeing me riding the Yamaha 2 videos in a row. Now, I feel like I'm a very untrustworthy person at this point because about a month ago I said I was going to be riding the Gas for Soupy. Next I started riding the KTM and enjoying that. Now I'm hopping on the Yamaha and I'm really enjoying the Yamaha as well. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably going to change my mind another 3 or 4 times before Supercross starts. I never know what I like and what I don't like. I hop on something and it feels really good for a while, and then I start riding bad again on it and I change and then that feels good. And I have no idea. I mean, if you guys are doing the ARL Supercross season, whether it's 250 or 450, what bikes are you boys enjoying at the moment? I know for 250 at least, I'm pretty set in stone. I'm riding the Honda. I mean, that's usually my go-to 250 regardless. But yeah, 450 is all a bit up in the air. I think a lot more bikes are viable in 450s because you never truly, thank you for Boso by the way, you never truly put all of your power to the ground. So I'm curious to see what everyone's been riding 450 wise. And usually I get a good array of answers when I ask that question, but I'm interested to know if the meta's shifted at all since Beta 18 dropped. I tried asking in the Creations chat the other day what the 250 meta is at the moment, but didn't get a response, so I've just stuck to the old 250, and I've managed to swindle a good setup from somewhere, which I'm sure might be able to show you guys when it comes closer to SX time. I'm actually experimenting myself for a change in terms of setup for this bad boy right here, the Yam 450. And I'm just trying to do a click at a time here and there, see what feels good, what doesn't. Because obviously at the end of the day, I'm still going a little bit blind in regards to what different settings do. I know you can hover over it and it gives a brief explanation, but in terms of then impact on the bike, sometimes it can feel completely different. So little baby steps and little changes. But the setup that I've got on right now, which I won't show just yet because obviously it's not complete. I'm sure I'm still going to make a few tweaks. I'll be able to show you during the SX live streams and such when I'm done. The setup I'm on right now, it feels so good through whoops. It's unreal. But I have every now and then in some of the corners, the bike doesn't quite turn as much as I would like it to. But then at the same time, if I change it so it turns tighter, I then slide out a little bit. So it's still a little bit hit and miss. I'm trying to find that nice little sweet spot, or if I just need to change how I'm riding in general. Oh, please go over that. There we go. I think that jump right there is going to be the hardest one as these laps go on. It's just with how the track's getting a little bit rough coming out the corner. It kind of filters down into one line just due to how you apex the corner as well. You might need to swing out wide early and then cut down and go over the top of all the ruts. But you can see we're on lap 13 right here, and it's nowhere near as, let's say, dangerous as other tracks have been. It's a lot more rideable, and it's actually enjoyable so far as well, because what I hate when I do these challenges usually is getting to a certain point and then just not being able to do a complete lap no matter how hard I try, just getting destroyed by the game. But if I'm careful and I'm taking my time around the track now, I can actually manoeuvre my way around fairly okay. And I'm not sure if that is just a Beta 18 thing, or if that is Mr. Rube's doing a good job with his track, or if I'm just having a particularly good day on bikes. Maybe it's a combination of all three, who knows. But like corners like this, there's multiple line choices now. You can see this straight's getting really, really chewed up. I have made a mess of this corner, however. Right, let me try it. I'm going to quickly try coming out wide. Get on the brakes, square her off. Oh, look at that. I'm a pro. Almost like I know what I'm doing. That was actually really, really nice. Maybe I'll take that for the next lap or two before it gets destroyed as well. One thing that I always forget about in this game is just how effective standing up on the pegs is. A lot of the time, if I sit down, I'll get horrible little like front end tucks here and there. But if you're in super, super deep stuff, standing up a lot of the time, I think is the best way to go. Just, I don't know what it is. Just keeps the bike a lot more stable, a lot more central. And so far, I'm actually having a lot of fun with this, which is a rare occasion for these types of videos. Usually it's just pain and suffering. But there's actually some nice ruts forming. And in some of the corners as well, something that's happening, which I don't think's happened before on one of these, is the ruts are actually kind of like merging together and forming one rather than just turning into horrible choppy triangles, which is really nice. It's very refreshing as well, because then it opens the door to a lot more possibilities for these tracks. I do think still the 10 might be pushing it a little bit. I'll definitely lower it down a tiny bit more if I was to do this again. But so, this is by far the most enjoyable one of these that I've been doing. We're on lap 18 at the moment, and my lap time actually, it's only dropping off by like a maximum of 10 seconds or so a lap. And if you've watched my previous videos of these that I've done, it kind of goes downhill in a hurry. Usually we're looking at like plus 30 seconds, plus a minute. Some cases, like the lap times literally triple in length just because of how often I'm crashing when we get to the very end of the sessions. But this is still very manageable, still very doable. I can kind of chop and change my lines where I want to. I can cut down on ruts and go over them and kind of find my own way around the track, which is new. It's refreshing. I'm loving it. It's so much fun. I didn't expect this. So I sat down and I was like, I mentally prepared myself for pain, but it's not happened yet. We're still waiting on it, which is very nice. This section is the one that I've crashed in the most. Just landing in these ruts and all the doubles and the front end twitching out on me, but managed to survive it this time round. Lovely stuff. I'm going to keep plodding along. So I'm on lap 23 right here, and I feel like the track's got to its worst and it's now slowly becoming good again. As you can see, like on this straight, for example, here on the face of this jump, the ruts have kind of they've emerged together and formed one like flat bit, more like you'd see online rather than just individual lines. So I suppose if I just keep going and going around here, we might end up just getting a flat track again. Obviously, there's some sections that are completely different. It all depends on how you're putting the power down. Like this long sweeper right here, you can see still lots of individual lines, which I love this, by the way. I think it looks so cool. And then there's other sections where they kind of all merge together, like here, and it ends up flattening back out. This section, by the way, this is awful. Like, I'm getting some horrible kickers off these singles. This section and then the jump over there on the left in a little bit. Some of these corners are actually really nice and really enjoyable. I've hit this outside nice the last few laps. I guarantee now that I've got the recording back on that I won't. Oh, that wasn't too bad at all, actually. As you can see, these ruts aren't just for show at the moment, especially on this track. They are actually usable and enjoyable as well. So, massive dub so far. I literally just stopped myself with barely any time to spare. I ran out of fuel. I run in 5 litres and I've just run through all 5. Went back to the pits, went to just quickly refresh my bike and put some new fuel in, change the tyres and stuff. I was so close to pressing the reset track button just out of muscle memory and habit, which I usually do every time I go back to the pits because I'm sad and go for hot laps all the time. God, that would have been embarrassing. That would have been a waste of the last like 40 minutes of my life, wouldn't it? We're on lap 29 now, just starting lap 29 or lap 30. I think I ran out of fuel just as I crossed the line earlier for lap 29, but we're on lap 30 now, kind of ish. It doesn't say that at the top left. Right, anyway. I think I've been kind of tiptoeing around for the most part because I just don't want to crash. I say I should probably try and attempt maybe like a hot lap or something. I know we're super deep and super eroded and it's probably going to end in tears, but let's try pushing the bike a little bit. Let's try pushing the limits. Let's get on the power. Let's try and rail some of these corners. Okay. Hey, take 2. You saw nothing. Right. Let's try and rail some of these corners a little bit faster than I have been. This corner's, I love this one here. It's so nice. It doesn't seem to matter where I put the bike or how many ruts I go across. It kind of just tracks around the corner really nicely. And then after this left-hander, this is the bit that I'm not enjoying. I keep getting kicked in horrible directions every time I land. That was fairly clean, to be honest. I haven't had many runs through that as nice as that one was. And then I love the outside up and around here. It just seems to, even though it's looking really choppy and triangly, the bike just, it tracks around it really nicely. Same with up here. I've made my own little rut, kind of off the track a bit, which is a shame because I've just got poor line choice, but it's turned into its own thing. I'm pushing further and further out through the left through this section here, trying to find the smooth line, and then the front end kind of does its own thing through all these bumps, just try and survive it to the best of my ability. Funnel into any one of these ruts that wants to hold me. And then if I hit this outside line nice enough, I can straighten the bike up and barely get up and over that tabletop still. Lovely. Have the bike skidding all over the place around that corner. That was much better in that rut that time. Down to the outside around here. It's all filter in the last second, staying inside the cones. It's legal. The cone's there. It says so. I'm allowed to. And then don't go over the bars or tuck the front end. There we go. So that lap, obviously it looks a little bit sloppy. It will be. The bike's all over the place underneath me. I'm constantly having to make little micro adjustments. But it was only 5 seconds slower than the best lap that I've done, which was on lap 2 when the track was still really flat. So it's not making a horrendous difference, which I love. I absolutely love that. I mean, this isn't realistic in any sense of the word whatsoever. Like, you're never going to get a track looking like this after someone's ridden around it a couple of times. But it's nice to know that your lap times fall off in a more realistic sense once the track gets more beaten up. If you can see where I'm going with that. I'm not saying that the deform is realistic. I'm saying that the lap time slowing down like 5 or so seconds is, which I like. I enjoy that. I'm a fan of the realism. I just wish we wouldn't get so many triangles. I just wish it would dig up nice and deep without the adverse effects. But I'm not sure if that's a game engine problem or if that is just an MX Bikes thing. I know that if you run sim as well on very high road on there, it does a very, very similar thing. So I'm not sure if it's just a game limitation or if it can be fixed. Who knows? I take back what I said about the track potentially getting easier. It is not getting easier at all. It's now getting to a very, very difficult to ride stage. Still, obviously, smooth lines around the track if I search for them hard enough, but I still want to. I don't want to just like tiptoe my way around the outskirts or the tight insides everywhere, searching for a smooth line. I still want to kind of hit what you would call the race line in some sort of a decent speed. The only place that I am really changing up is here, squaring it right off. You can see I've got a few lines on the right hand side here, which still allow me to get up and over that tabletop, but very, very barely. And actually, think about it, I've not taken the inside line here one time. And that was an awful run around that corner. I'm sure that rut's going to be horrible next time round. There's still some smooth lines here and there. Nothing too crazy. Like if I veer off over to the right round here, I'm sure I can make something else work. I mean, that wasn't too bad whatsoever. But for the most part of the track, it's obviously it's changing. The soil's changing colour to this darker dirt where I've been riding. But it's deceiving because it looks smooth when you're going up to it, and then you hit it and your kind of handlebars are twitchy and the bike's dancing around underneath you. So it makes it very, very difficult, especially here under the shadows of the trees. It's very hard to see where the super dangerous bits are that you should be avoiding. And then this bloody section through here, my god, as you can see there, I've been rolling the first jump for the most part and then trying to double out of the different rhythm. But the jumps are built in a way, or it's just my lack of momentum going into them, where I can't quite get the front wheel up and over. So it's not really fast at all. But nonetheless, still easily the most... I can't keep saying the word enjoyable all the time. It's the most pleasurable high road video I've done. Probably to the point where I might not even reset the track once I'm done. The track I'm on right now is the swamp track on the out of all these different ones. I didn't really fancy doing any of the super long ones like the full loop, and I didn't want to mess up my road either. I've got the full loop right now. I usually run on about 3 ERODE, and it's built up some really, really nice smooth ruts I can follow around the track. Super, super fun, and I 100% go and get this track if you haven't got it yet. It is a certified hood classic. It is a banger. I have decided that I think the 50 lap mark will be a good place to end this video on. So we got another 10 or so to go, and I don't think the track's really going to change much from this point. It's just a case of me learning my way around it. As you can see, it's very, very difficult to even go in a straight line on some of these straights, where it's getting so it's not whooped out, it's just super choppy from the triangular deformation. So the back wheel's never truly on the ground. It's just constantly like skimming, and it's almost like you're going through a whoop section, but constantly, where the back end just lighting itself up every time it's off the ground, which in turn makes it very, very slippery and very, very difficult. And I'm still trying my best to get round at a moderate pace, but that is proving more and more difficult as time's been going on. But still, I've had a hell of a lot of fun doing this, and it's been the most enjoyable in terms of I've not had to dedicate 3 hours of my life just to pain and suffering. Like, this has been one of the quickest ones as well. The lap times haven't gone up like a ridiculous amount. Even with a couple of crashes, you're looking at maybe 20 seconds added onto the base lap time, which is so much better than the minute or two that was happening previously. So, I mean, well done Beta 18, ERODE. Well done Rubes. Well done myself. Give myself a little pat on the back for riding okay for a change. Absolutely loving life. I'm going to carry on doing a little bit more, and I think I'll join you for a final lap on lap 50, I reckon, and then I can get this all edited together and carry on my Call of Duty grinding. Okay, so I'm actually joining you on lap 51, not lap 50, because I'm so zoned out. I'm just playing the game without thinking about it. I'm not sure if anybody else ever does that. They just get so into what they're doing that it just becomes second nature, and you realise that you've just done something. Kind of similar to, I have times when I go driving and I get to where I've been and I can't remember what happened on the way. I feel like I was just on autopilot and I just got there. But as you can see, it's a little bit painful now. It's not as enjoyable as it was at the start, but that's to be expected. That's a little bit of a given. But overall, this has actually been a genuine, enjoyable experience compared to all the other ones. I know I've said it multiple times, but I can't stress enough. 100% give this a go. This track, by far, is the best eroding track in the game. I think obviously Beta 18 helps that, but knowing Rubes and knowing what a perfectionist he is and knowing how much testing went into this whole thing as well, I know the man put a lot of time and effort into getting the ERODE to deform just right. Obviously never meant to be used on 10. That is a little bit overkill. My bad. Maybe if you want to do high road on these tracks, maybe go like 5 or so at a maximum, because then you do get a deep rut that is still somewhat rideable. As the laps have gone on, the track is now weirdly in some places quite smooth and rideable, but in others absolute nightmare, like super difficult. So it's very interesting seeing how the track changes in different areas depending on what your throttle inputs are, essentially, because there was one corner back there where I kind of accelerate halfway around the corner, get off, and then get on it again. And there's just like a nice smooth bit in the middle, but then the start and the end are proper deep. But it's just really enjoyable, and I always find it interesting trying to see what this game can do and what it's capable of. But if you've enjoyed this video, if I could just ask you to please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I hope all of you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you guys are up to. And I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Peace.
Wanted to make it, I guess. You know I live with the criticisms. People are giving a big and they put it upon the pedestal. A pendant for your thoughts, but I never asked for change. My work ethic's ridiculous and yours is not the same. I swear to God that I wrote it all with a pure intention. The truest testament with no excessive false aesthetics. You couldn't imagine the fathom the effort I'm exuding. My heart and soul in this shit, but yet they forced me to prove